Every week, the Payne family cuts straight to the real financial story.
The one question, Bob, everyone's asking is, are we in an artificial intelligence bubble? You've been through boom and bust. What do you think?
No hype, no myths. Just what actually matters to your money.
Does feel very similar to what we experienced in the 90s. Where are we, though? Are we in 1995, 1997, 1999?
Listen to the Pain Points of Wealth on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
It's the 77 WABC News Hour.
Talking the news with Noam Laden.
All the news you need to know with Joe Nolan, traffic, Justin Ellick, sports. And now,
Talking the news with Noam
on 77 WABC.
Yes, that's me. Good morning. It is Wednesday, January 14th. Your forecast from the 77 WABC Weather Center. Cloudy day on the way. Small chance of a passing shower, the high 50. And then tonight and overnight, the clouds hang around low 40, and Thursday it'll be sun and clouds, high 43. If you're walking out the door with us right now, 42 and cloudy in Bayville out on Long Island. It's 41 and cloudy in Eatontown over in New Jersey, and it's 40 and cloudy right outside our Midtown studios.
This is the Top 5 at 5.
President Trump warning he'll turn off the tap to sanctuary cities. We're striking nurses caught sabotaging hospitals. Melissa Gilbert standing by her man. Animal lovers want a Bronx cat killer to go to jail. Staten Island lawmakers are tired of basket brawls at kids' games. All right, let's get into it at 5:01. President Trump saying he's ready to withhold federal funding for sanctuary cities or states, and he said that it could start as soon as February 1st.
Starting February 1st, we're not making any payments to sanctuary cities or states having sanctuary cities because they do everything possible to protect criminals.
The president making these comments while talking about investigations into fraud in Minnesota, which he claimed was done by many Somali Americans. New York, of course, New York City, sanctuary city. Mayor Mamdani responding in a social media post says our values and our laws are not bargaining chips. And then later, last night, he was asked about whether he had spoken to President Trump about his announcement on sanctuary cities.
I reached out to President Trump to express my sharp opposition to this decision and to make my values clear. And I will always continue to do so.
Yeah, so he says there's been many threats that have been made against New York City on a regular basis, and he says he's confident in New York City's ability to fight those threats back. Here was Governor Hochul. She was talking about this in her State of the State yesterday.
From our schools, we will not allow masked ICE agents to storm our schools, our daycare centers, our hospitals, our houses of worship for civil immigration raids, unless they have a judicial warrant.
And then last night she posted online, if the Trump White House tries to go after funding, or federal funding, that is, for New York City, New Yorkers will see them in court. 5:02. This is day 3 of the biggest nursing strike in New York City history. 3 nurses claimed they were unlawfully fired just before the walkout.
We will not be bullied by Mt Sinai, and we'll do everything we can to contest our unjust firing.
Now, at a protest yesterday outside Mt Sinai in East Harlem, the trio who were fired claimed they were terminated over union activity 9 hours before the strike began.
Just hours before we were meant to join our fellow nurses on the strike line, we were both fired in pure act of intimidation.
But we are not scared. We will continue to fight.
But Mt Sinai says those 3 nurses were caught deliberately sabotaging strike training by hiding supplies from nurses who would be taking their place and locking up critical supplies for vulnerable newborns. And they say that's why they were given the boot. Meanwhile, negotiations appear to be just at a standstill between New York State Nurses Association and these 3 private hospital systems, Mt Sinai, Montefiore, and New York Presbyterian. So nurses will be back on the strike strike line 7 o'clock this morning. Governor Hochul up in Albany delivering her State of the State address that was focused mostly on safety and affordability.
Hochul says New York will invest $1.7 billion toward universal affordable childcare and statewide pre-K, plus lowering utility bills and excessive home insurance profits.
I want New York to be the number one place for anyone to start a family and build their future right here.
She also vowed to crack down on ghost guns and a transit expansion plan, including $50 million to fund the design of a reimagined Jamaica station. I'm Lisa Ritchie, 77 WABC News.
Governor Hochul was not the only one doing her State of the State in New Jersey. It was Phil Murphy giving his final State of the State, looking back on his 2 terms as New Jersey's 56th governor. The term limited governor says New Jersey is fairer and stronger than it was when he took office in 2018.
Today, we are a state brimming with opportunity for all.
Of course, everybody's got to talk about affordability. That's the buzzword these days. He did as well, and he said he did admit that affordability remains a major issue for lots of people in New Jersey.
We prove that when we live by our Jersey values, our state government can serve the needs of working people first and foremost.
He also took credit for fiscal responsibility, citing 9 consecutive credit rating upgrades and 5 full pension payments in a row. The outgoing governor also praising Governor-elect Mikey Sherrill, who will be sworn in on January 20th. WABC News Time 5:05. 3 of America's best-known high-end department stores are in jeopardy after Saks Global filed for bankruptcy late yesterday.
It could be the beginning of the end for Saks Fifth Avenue, Neiman Marcus, and Bergdorf Goodman. The company that owns them cannot pay its bills. The stores just came together in a $2.7 billion merger in 2024. But the company could not renegotiate with its vendors as department stores continued their decline in the U.S., made worse by financial pressures on shoppers. The stores will stay open. Question is, for how much longer? Andrew Whitman, NBC News Radio, New York.
Think about all that real estate they own on Fifth Avenue. What would happen if they close up shop? And would that be a wild scene after so many years? Don't you know that it's time, apparently, to get on board if you're heading to Newark Airport anyway?
It's an air train. Air train. And changes are coming for people who use it to get to and from Newark Airport. The Air Train getting a $3.5 billion upgrade starting Thursday. Air Train service will be unavailable during construction and will be replaced by shuttle buses. Those will run from NJ Transit and Amtrak stops to all terminals. The Air Train will still run between terminals. James Flippin for 77 WABC News.
WABC News Time 5:08. President Trump says the U.S. will act in Iran if anti-regime protesters are hanged. He was asked by CBS News about reports of hangings that Iran threatens could begin this week.
We will take very strong action. If they do such a thing, we will take very strong action.
I mean, that's amazing. They're doing hangings in 2026. The president would not elaborate on what action would be. He is reportedly considering airstrikes on Iran to help protesters topple the Ayatollah. He told Iranians help is on the way.
The end game is to win. I like winning.
Republican Senator Ted Cruz of Texas is not entirely opposed to the idea of military action in Iran.
It might make sense to do so, but it would depend on the specific target and it would have to be limited.
Cruz went on to say if there was a revolution in Iran, it would be best if the world saw it come from the people of Iran and not the U.S. government.
What the president is saying is America is with you, the people of Iran.
And Cruz says it's good that President Trump is looking at every opportunity to help those protesters on the streets.
He said the regime henchmen that are engaging in atrocities, that are murdering and torturing people, keep their names because they will be held accountable. That's a major way to protect the protesters.
Now, the U.S.-based human rights activist news agency has reported 2,000 people have been killed in these protests. The U.S. has warned Americans to leave Iran immediately, while President Trump also announced any country who does business with Iran will now be hit with new tariffs. 5:10. A new survey has found 80% of voters saw that video of last week's fatal ICE shooting in Minneapolis.
Quinnipiac University surveyed more than 1,000 registered voters about their thoughts on the shooting. The data shows that 53% of respondents believe the shooting was not justified. 35% believe it was. 12% are unsure. The shooting of Renee Good by an ICE agent has sparked protests across the country against President Trump's immigration crackdown. I'm Jim Rope.
President Trump, he was giving more insight into the shooting of Renee Good by an ICE agent in Minnesota.
You know, when you look at that tape, it can be viewed two ways, I guess. But when you look at the way that car was pulled away, there are a couple of versions of that tape that are very, very bad.
Now, the president told CBS News that Good's father is a big supporter of his and that he would bet under normal circumstances that Good was a very solid, wonderful person, but her actions were pretty tough that day.
I want to say to the father that I love all of our people. They can be on the other side. As you say, he might be on my side.
He is on your side.
And I think that's great. And I do. I think it's great.
The president saying that Good probably was somewhat normal. That's how he described it.
And I would bet you that she, under normal circumstances, was a very solid, wonderful person. But her actions were pretty tough.
The president willing to admit that that video of the shooting could be viewed a few different ways, as he described. 5:11. Supreme Court hearing landmark cases involving transgender athlete bans. One of those cases comes out of Idaho, and Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson asked the attorney for the state why the transgender question can't be answered on a case-by-case basis instead of one sweeping law.
Why is that so not administrable? We're not going to be able to sustain. I don't understand it.
Making sure that a transgender athlete does not have an unfair advantage would require ongoing testosterone monitoring because circulating testosterone can fluctuate.
The other case the justices are looking at comes from West Virginia. Both will decide whether states can ban transgender girls from taking part in girls' and women's sports. And they had Chief Justice John Roberts suggesting the court's decision could have far-reaching implications.
With respect to the definition of girls, that would, if we adopted that would have to apply across the board and not simply to the area of athletics.
And then we heard from Justice Amy Coney Barrett, who questioned the attorney for Idaho if the law applies to all age groups.
You're just drawing the line based on biological sex and saying that trans girls can't be on the girls' team in an age group that's prepubescent.
The record in this case does not support the notion that males lack an athletic advantage at 6 years old. That's about as early as the science goes from what's in the record.
Now, the decisions will impact similar bans already enacted in about half the country. The issue, of course, sparked national debate, key issue of President Trump's 2024 White House run. 5:13, former President Bill Clinton could be facing a contempt of Congress charge soon. He failed to show up for a GOP-led House committee hearing yesterday in the Jeffrey Epstein investigation, and now Congressman James Comer says he's going to take action.
As a result of Bill Clinton not showing up for his lawful subpoena, we will move next week in the House Oversight Committee markup to hold former President Clinton in contempt of Congress.
Yeah, and former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, of course, Bill's wife, scheduled to appear today, but in a joint statement, the Clintons said they will not appear. The statement goes on to accuse Comer of selective prosecution.
No one's accusing Bill Clinton of any wrongdoing. We just have questions, and that's why the Democrats voted along with Republicans to subpoena Bill Clinton.
Now, a criminal contempt of Congress charge that carries a punishment of up to 1 year in jail. 5:14, down to Texas, where former teachers at a Texas elementary school who were victims of a 2022 school shooting testified at the trial of the police officer accused of botching the response. Elsa Avila broke down crying, describing how she was shot by the gunman in Uvalde.
I kept praying, God, please, don't let me die in front of my children.
Uvalde police officer Adrian Gonzalez faces 29 counts of child endangerment. The state alleges that he knew where the shooter was, but failed to act to stop or distract him. A total of 19 students, 2 teachers were killed in the attack. Former teacher Elsa Avio, more from her. She broke down crying as she described how her students tried to comfort her.
I couldn't do anything. I couldn't comfort them.
Your fear was that you would die in front of them?
Yes. We kept hearing the shots. They were just going like that.
Yeah, we're going to hear more from these eyewitnesses as this trial goes on in Texas. In a moment, we'll tell you the latest on a Hollywood celebrity who's in a heap of hot water and his famous actress wife who's defending him. We'll get into that in just a moment. But first, 5:15, let's head over to the 77 WABC Sports Desk. Happy Hump Day. Good morning, Justin Ellick.
Happy Hump Day. Good morning to you, Noam Layden. Start with the biggest news here out of the sports world yesterday, out of the NFL. Mike Tomlin has stepped down as Pittsburgh Steelers head coach, ending a 19-year run during which he never had a losing season. 53-year-old is not expected to coach elsewhere in 2026, sources did tell ESPN. The Steelers announced Tomlin's decision yesterday afternoon, saying his track record, quote, will likely never be duplicated. With his departure, the Steelers will begin the search for just their 4th head coach since 1969. Because Tomlin resigned while still under contract, the Steelers will retain his coaching rights and could negotiate compensation if he returned to an NFL sideline before the end of the 2027 season. So another head coach hits the chopping block.
Wow, there's a lot of openings, right?
Yeah, especially because, technically they say he resigned, but you got to imagine they, forced him to do so, a.k.a. a more polite firing.
Yeah, well, what's the name of the family that owns the Steelers?
The Rooney family.
Yeah, they're good people. They didn't want to embarrass the guy.
Yeah, I mean, listen, they're only looking for their 4th head coach since 1969. It's a pretty loyal ownership family. So, yeah, I think that feeling is probably mutual, that feeling of respect between Tomlin and the Rooney family. And, he ends his Pittsburgh Steelers tenure. To the MLB offseason news there between the Mets and outfielder Kyle Tucker, the top free agent available this offseason. He has been offered a short-term deal by the Mets that is believed to be worth $50 million per season. Sources did reveal to ESPN. Tucker, who turns 29 on Saturday, continues to field offers after he declined a $22.025 million qualifying offer by the Chicago Cubs following the season. Sources also told ESPN that the Toronto Blue Jays have also made a long-term offer to Tucker, who is one of the best left-handed hitters in the league. Would be a big deal if the Mets could lock him up. I'm not sure if he's worth $50 million per year. I'm not sure any human being is worth that much money. But the Mets, obviously, they got the money for it. Head to the ice in Winnipeg. The Islanders fell 5-4 to the Jets. McLean, Heineman, Duclair, and Schaefer scored for the Isles. Fell to 6-3-1 in their last 10 games. Elias Sorokin finished with 17 saves. Up next for him, they'll play at Edmonton tomorrow night in the 4th of a 7-game road trip. Tonight, the Devils and the Rangers both back in action at 7 p.m. The Devils will welcome in the Kraken, and at 7:30, the Rangers will host the Ottawa Senators, and both NBA local squads back in action tonight as well. The Nets are out in New Orleans against the Pelicans at 8, and later on at 10 p.m., the Knicks will get going in Sacramento against the Kings. That is your Sports Noah, man. I'm Justin Ellick on 77 WABC.
WABC News Time, 5:19. The city of San Antonio, Texas, scrapping a plan to use taxpayer dollars to help women travel to other states in order to get an abortion. It's been banned under a new state law.
We have spent hundreds of thousands of dollars in legal fees on something that a city government shouldn't be doing.
Yeah, so local lawmakers there trying to squash this. He says cities need to focus on core services like, fixing potholes, funding police.
Forget the things that the federal government is there to deal with. Forget the issues that our state government is there to deal with. Our job is to figure out how we can most positively impact our citizens' day-to-day quality of life.
Now, San Antonio joins Austin, which also has canceled their version of the Reproductive Justice Fund, which would help women who want to have abortions in Texas where they're not allowed to go to states where they are. The Trump administration says Americans detained in Venezuela are now being released.
There are reports that at least 4 Americans have been freed. The State Department says that it welcomes the release of the detained Americans in Venezuela and goes on to say that it's an important step in the right direction by the interim government. This would be the first known release of American detainees since U.S. forces captured Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro earlier this month. I'm Jim Roop.
NASA has been evacuating a crew from the International Space Station after that medical emergency in orbit. They haven't told us what the emergency is or which astronaut it is, but being brought home, though, in a spacecraft that's made by SpaceX.
You can just hop in this thing, literally push a button, the spacecraft are automated, and you'd be gone.
Keith Cowling is with NASAWatch.com. He says we'll be learning what took place, and he says this is, in the end, a good experience for the agency to deal with emergencies in space.
They've got it set up such that if things happen, and it's amazing they haven't happened until now, you can push a big red button and come home.
Now, apparently, this evacuation plan has been in place, but it's never been used before.
We always had the ability for everybody on that space station to leave as quick as possible if they have to.
Yeah, he says that whatever and however this all works out, he says it'll shape what happens aboard future missions into space and as we venture to Mars. 5:22. Officials still on the lookout for multiple monkeys that have been on the loose for several days in the city of St. Louis.
Missouri's Department of Health said the primates, believed to be vervet monkeys, have been spotted in or around O'Fallon Park. Tracking them has been made a bit more difficult by people using AI-generated images to claim they've captured some of the monkeys. The monkeys are native to Africa and are gray in color with a black face. It's not clear when the animals went missing or where they came from. I'm Monica Nelson.
Let's go back down to Washington. President Trump slamming Fed Chair Jerome Powell after a DOJ probe into renovations by the central bank.
I think I could have done that job. I could have fixed him up for $25 million. He's into billions and billions of dollars.
The president was on CBS News. He says that Powell was either corrupt or incompetent when talking about the supposed costs of renovations and the timetable of these new buildings. The central bank buildings have not been renovated since the 30s, and with the rising cost to over $2 billion since renovations began back in 2022. Now, the Fed has cited changes to the building designs and rising material costs, but the president claims he could get things done for a whole lot cheaper.
And it looks like they won't open for a long time, and he's either corrupt or incompetent.
And then the president was in Detroit yesterday saying that he wants to make America affordable again. He spoke to the Detroit Economic Club in Michigan, says the future is bright in America.
Now, after less than 12 months in office, I'm back in Michigan to report to you on the strongest and fastest economic turnaround in our country's history. It's really been historic.
His comments come on the same day a report showed consumer price rose less than expected in December.
Stock market every day, 48 days in a row, 48 days during the course of 11 months. We hit a new high on the stock market, all of them. Greatest first year in history nobody's ever had, just based on the numbers, based only on the numbers.
And then there was this moment, did you hear about this? An auto worker flipped off the president, essentially. So now this auto worker at this Michigan Ford plant has been suspended for heckling President Trump during his visit yesterday.
The president was touring Ford's River Rouge complex in Dearborn when 40-year-old T.J. Sabula yelled out that Trump was a pedophile protector. A viral video of the incident shows Trump extending his middle finger after hearing the comment. Sabula says he has since been suspended from his job because of the outburst, but that he has no regrets and that he believes he's being targeted for political retribution. The White House says Trump's gesture was appropriate and called Sabula a lunatic. I'm Mark Mayfield.
WABC News Time 525. Walmart expanding its drone delivery service now to 150 stores across the country.
Walmart is working with Wing, a drone company owned by Google parent Alphabet. The expansion will take place during the next year. The companies expect the service to reach 40 million additional customers, also in cities like St. Louis, Cincinnati, and Miami. Drone deliveries usually arrive in about a half hour. The companies are hoping to offer drone deliveries at 270 Walmart locations by next year. I'm Daniel Martindale.
Okay, with many of us spending a high amount of time indoors at this cold time of year. Experts offering tips on how to improve air quality inside your home. All right, well, hear this out. Pulmonologist Neha Solanki is with the Cleveland Clinic, and she says a common source of indoor air pollution is fireplaces, burning candles, gas stoves, dust, and pet dander.
Coughing, that's often the first sign of air quality issues. You are breathing in the particulate matter. Particulate matter is they're just very small particles that can't even always be seen with the eye.
Okay, Solanki recommends getting a carbon monoxide monitor.
Carbon monoxide is a gas that we can't smell. So the only way to know if it's there is if you have a monitor, and it can be deadly if it's undetected.
All right, I didn't learn a whole lot about that. Health officials say cracking knuckles is not bad and won't cause arthritis.
Harvard Health says the sound is from gas bubbles in joints popping, and after you pop, you can re-pop in about 30 minutes. There's no adverse effects to the knuckle cracker, but there is to others. A study by Northwestern Medicine says about 50% of us crack knuckles, but the sound annoys 80%. If you're among the joint crackers, check that the coast is clear and then get cracking. I'm Bree Tennis.
It's the 77 WABC News Hour.
Talking the news with Noam Laden.
All the news you need to know with Joe Nolan, traffic, Justin Ellick, sports. And now,
Talking the news with Noam
on 77 WABC.
Yes, that's me. Good morning. It is Wednesday, January 14th. Your forecast from the 77 WABC Weather Center. Cloudy day on the way. Small chance of a passing shower, the high 50. Tonight and overnight, the clouds, they hang around low 40. And then Thursday, sun and clouds, high 43. If you're walking out the door with us right now, thank you for doing so. It is 42 and cloudy in Bayville out on Long Island. It is 41 and cloudy in Eatontown over in New Jersey. And it's 40 and cloudy right outside our Midtown studios. WABC News Time 540. The parents of the first child to die from the flu in New Jersey this season spoke to Eyewitness News yesterday about their heartbreak. 2-year-old Isaias Castillo's mother says the family took the little boy to the emergency room with a fever, but then they were sent home, and hours later he passed away. Man, it is so tough being a parent of young kids because you just don't know. Do I take him to the hospital? Do I don't? Do I take him to the doctor? And this is just an awful story. Family members tell Eyewitness News they believe his death could have been prevented if maybe he had stayed in the hospital a little bit longer.
I will never be the same. Will never be the same. My children will never be the same. My family will never be the same.
Castillo and her son says her son had a fever of 101.2 last Sunday night. On Monday morning, she and her husband brought him to the ER at Morristown Medical Center. They said they were told that he had the flu, and they instructed to give him Tylenol or Motrin. She says the fever did come down slightly that afternoon, but by the evening, he had a 105-degree fever, and he was having seizures. So the next morning, that's when Isaias died at the hospital, becoming the first pediatric flu death in New Jersey this season. And she wishes, the mom, that they had left her son in the hospital longer.
He is the biggest blessing that we have ever had, and that he changed so many lives, and how much we love him and miss him.
Yeah, the little toddler was scheduled to get his flu shot later this month. Now, she had not given him one because he was at home. He wasn't in daycare. And so just an awful ending.
He was the light of every room. He touched every single person he ever met. He was the center of attention wherever he went.
Yeah, no mom, no family should go through such heartbreak. A GoFundMe has been started to help support the family. 542, scores of nurses going to be back on the picket lines. This will be day 3 of what's believed to be the largest nurses strike in New York City history. Thousands walked off the job Monday morning from Mt Sinai, New York Presbyterian, and Montefiore hospital system.
We came out for safe staffing, and we came out for enforcement, but it's still not being enforced. We still have places where the ratios are not being met.
Now, they want higher pay, better health benefits, and a better work environment. Now, Mt Sinai says it fired 3 nurses right before the strike began on Monday because they caught them, this is their words, deliberately sabotaging the strike by hiding supplies from the nurses who would take their place and locking up critical supplies. So they say that's why they were given the boot. Here were more of the nurses that were walking the picket line yesterday.
We need health care benefits because if we don't have health care, how can we stay well enough to take care of the patients that we're supposed to take care of?
Now, there's no new talks scheduled, at least as of early this morning, between the nurses union leadership and hospital management. Montefiore says union leaders are making reckless demands, including roughly 40% wage increases. Mt Sinai, the head of Mt Sinai, put out a video yesterday asking nurses to come back, say it's okay if you want to come back and go back to work. And they claim about 20% of nurses have stayed on the job there. 544. Let's go out to Long Island. The trial in the case of accused Gilgo Beach serial killer Rex Heuermann finally in sight. Suffolk County Supreme Court Judge Timothy Mazzei told both sides yesterday that he's aiming for the trial to begin right after Labor Day, come hell or high water. That would be more than 3 years since the arrest of Heuermann, the Massapequa Park architect. The news comes as the defense team filed another batch of motions yesterday challenging much of the evidence, including some of the search warrants. The defense contends that taking DNA from the pizza crust Heuermann threw away violated his constitutional privacy. Prosecutors also say that crust helped link Heuermann to the 2007 killing of Maureen Barnes and 6 other deaths spanning about 30 years, from Sandra Castilla 1993 to the Gilgo Beach killings years later. And they say much of this evidence should be thrown out.
Rex Heuermann may have abandoned his pizza crust, but he never abandoned all that personal information that's now in our DNA. The people's evidence that links Rex Heuermann to Sandra Castillo's crime is a single hair.
Now, when this court case begins, they'll point their fingers for some of the murders at convicted killer John Bridhoff, is who behind bars.
We very well think that Mr. Bitroff may be responsible for some of these.
And the defense is also asking the judge to throw out statements Heuermann allegedly made to police right after his arrest. He remains in protective solitary confinement for 23 hours per day, is allowed visits with family members, and has access to the law library. The Suffolk County DA, Ray Tierney, said that would not say yesterday whether a plea deal could be on the table at some point before this trial begins. All right, 546. Let's head over to the 77 WABC Sports Desk, and here's Justin Ellick.
Thank you, Noam Layden. Start with the biggest news across the sports world yesterday out of the NFL. Mike Tomlin has stepped down as Pittsburgh Steelers head coach, ending a 19-year run during which he never had a losing season. 53-year-old is not expected to coach elsewhere in 2026. Sources did reveal to ESPN's Adam Schefter. Also big news out of the MLB yesterday. Outfielder Kyle Tucker, the top free agent available this offseason, has been offered a short-term deal by our New York Mets that is believed to be worth $50 million per season. Sources told ESPN's Jesse Rogers yesterday. Tucker turns 29 on Saturday. Obviously, be a big addition to that Mets outfield. On the ice in Winnipeg, the Islanders fell 5-4 to the Jets. Up next for the Isles, they'll play at Edmonton tomorrow night in the 4th of a 7-game road trip. Devils and Rangers back on, at it tonight, I should say. 7 p.m. the Devils will welcome in the Kraken, and at 7:30 the Rangers will host the Senators. And both the Nets and the Knicks, they're back at it tonight on the NBA hardwood. Nets are out in New Orleans against the Pelicans at 8 p.m. and at 10 the Knicks will get going in Sacramento against the Kings. That is your Sports Know, man. I'm Justin Ellick on 77 WABC.
WABC News Time. 5:49 yesterday was sentencing day for 3 people charged in a gruesome crime on Long Island. You may remember this. It was February of 2024 when Malcolm Brown and Donna Connolly were murdered and dismembered in Amityville. Do you remember the body parts were showing up just about everywhere in parks and everything? Well, they were scattered in various locations across Suffolk County. Now, as part of a plea deal, Jeffrey Mackey Mackey was given 2 consecutive 11-year sentences for the murders. His girlfriend, Alexis Nieves, was sentenced to 11 years. And Stephen Brown was handed a 5-year prison sentence. A 4th defendant was previously sentenced. The defendants had claimed they were victims of domestic abuse inside their house.
What happened in that house was disturbing, was violent, and was the basis of how and why these crimes took place.
Now, prosecutors had suggested that Malcolm Brown and Connolly had planned a gas station robbery. This is a little bit of a complicated story. And then carried it out, and then was carried out by Nieves and Mackey. And then there was an argument about splitting money, and that's why these bodies were chopped up. One of the family members who lost their loved one, she spoke out yesterday.
Heartbreaking. I can't believe we're here. Dismembering, chopping up body parts, disposing of them like they were just trash. And you're getting 5 years?
It doesn't seem like a lot of prison time, does it? Some of the victims' remains were first found by a Long Island high school student who was walking to school in Babylon. A canine unit found more body parts later that same day. Governor Hochul delivering her State of the State yesterday, talking about safety and, of course, affordability. Speaking in Albany yesterday, she announced sweeping proposals that she says will make New York affordable.
I want New York to be the #1 place for anyone to start a family and build their future right here.
The governor said New York will invest $1.7 billion towards achieving universal child care, statewide pre-K, plus lowering utility bills and excessive home insurance profits.
My friends, I am so proud to stand before you and say the state of the state of New York is strong.
And the governor also vowing to launch a new online protection for kids.
Let's block direct messages from would-be child predators, #1. Let's disable AI chatbots that can cause serious mental health problems.
And across the Hudson over to New Jersey, Phil Murphy was delivering his final State of the State yesterday, looking back on 2 terms as New Jersey's 56th governor. The term limited governor said New Jersey, he called it fairer and stronger than it was when he took office back in 2018.
Today, we are a state brimming with opportunity for all.
Murphy did admit that affordability remains, how many times do I like to say the word affordability over the next year? Affordability remains a major issue for lots of people in New Jersey, but he also took credit for fiscal responsibility, citing 9 consecutive credit rating upgrades, 5 full pension payments in a row. As he put it, we proved that we could live by New Jersey values.
We proved that when we live by our Jersey values, our state government can serve the needs of working people first and foremost.
Yeah, so he's got a couple more days in office, and then Mikey Sherrill will be inaugurated on January 20th. 5:52, let's go up to the Bronx, where a 26-year-old appeared in Bronx Supreme Court yesterday to face charges in connection with the death of a cat. It was this wannabe Bronx rapper who beat a calf to death in a sacrifice to Satan. At least that's what he posted about on social media. It was a bid, prosecutors say, to promote his small-time music career. Why killing a cat would help your music career is beyond me, but that was his thought. His name is David Mosley. He's 26 years old. So he appeared in court yesterday, and you had animal rights activists, including Curtis Lewa, he was out there yesterday, saying that this guy should be, thrown in jail for what he did, because they have tape of this, what he did to the cat. They have apparently DNA from the cat. So here were some of the protesters outside the courtroom yesterday.
I felt like I got kicked in the teeth. I felt like literally throwing up.
He needs to own up to the punishment for what he did, and we're out here to show the court that we stand for justice.
Yeah, I would like to see him in jail.
Now, so he pled not guilty yesterday, which means there'll be more time until this full case is heard, which left these protesters outside really unsatisfied.
We were leaning forward physically on the edge of our seats, waiting for the verdict of guilty. And when we heard not guilty, I recoiled in anger, in horror, in frustration, in disappointment.
We're not going to stop. We don't give up easily. This is what we do. We're here to defend animals.
Now, the worst I think I've seen, and I may be wrong about this, is the worst anybody's got for doing terrible things to animals, like a year behind bars. My guess is that might be the same for this creepy, awful individual. Mosley is due back in court on March 17th. A hearing on congestion pricing is set for the end of this month as President Trump was slamming it on social media. The president called the toll to enter into Manhattan below 60th Street a disaster that's destroying New York City. But commuters say they're not sure he'll be able to kill the toll.
He said that he wasn't going to allow it and freeze it, and that has yet to happen.
It's a moneymaker. It made millions of dollars. So, yeah, no, we ain't stopping this. It's here.
It comes just as shy of 2 weeks before the congestion pricing is set to have its day in court. It's January 28th. That's when oral arguments will be had in a suit against the U.S. Department of Transportation, which was filed by the MTA. Commuters say they choose to drive. They choose to drive because they're going to have to reach into their pockets anyway. So they say, like, hey, you know what? I might as well pay the toll because getting on the train costs me money too.
Either or, mass transit. You go to train, you're going to pay. You use your car, you're going to pay. So pick one, you know?
But also the fee of the train went up too. So it's like, do I pay a little bit more just to get in my car? Why not? If I'm going to be in my car alone with all the crazy stuff that's going on the trains.
Now, the MTA claims that if you do motor into Midtown below 60th Street and pay that $9 toll, that you are saving time now because there's less people who are driving through. Now, that was not the case for me for a long time. My commute was as long as it's ever been. But I will say, post-Christmas, after the holidays, in other words, when we came back to work on January 5th, I am getting through that zone much faster than I had before. So maybe there's some truth to that. And then we'll end with this story. Staten Island Borough President is giving a stern warning to parents at youth sporting events to behave or get out. The announcement comes after a group of parents got into a brawl during a youth basketball game. Video shows these two moms at a sixth grade boys basketball game taking shots at each other, which is sort of amazing. This was at a Catholic Youth Organization basketball game. It took place back on December 20th. So here is the Staten Island Borough president who saw this video and said, I've had enough of this. You're supposed to behave. It's a kid's basketball game. Just go and enjoy. Here's Vito Fossella.
Instead of being responsible adults, they let it go, let it rip. And I just thought, no, enough is enough.
So in light of what happened, Fossella and the Catholic Youth Organization, which oversees these basketball games, have set new rules to ensure spectators are no longer acting out of bounds.
If you're thrown or removed from a gymnasium from a referee, you have a 1-year ban. If it happens twice, lifetime. And if there's a fight or a physical altercation, it's a lifetime ban immediately.
That makes sense to me. And when you talk to parents, they're like, really, what is with these parents who don't behave?
Yes, definitely. Crazy that our kids go to school and then we have to deal with this, with the parents acting nuts.
The other thing that us parents were talking about was, unfortunately, there should be a police presence from time to time. They don't have to be there every game. That's crazy. Mm-hmm. But stop in, say hello.
It's these dopey parents that are trying to live through their kids. That's always, I've watched this in action too, and you're like, really? Are you really going to scream and yell at each other with your kids? Just let them enjoy the game. And that's what Vito Fossella says as well.
We hope this is a way to put the focus back where it belongs on young children having a good time, learning a skill, learning a sport.
Yeah, good for you, Vito Fossella, the Staten Island Borough president, for laying down the rules that parents need to behave, and if they don't, they'll be banned for a year, and they were banned for life.
Thanks for listening to the News Hour with Noam Laden. You can hear the News Hour with Noam Laden weekday mornings at 5 on 77 WABC. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?
Every week, the Payne family cuts straight to the real financial story.
The one question, Bob, everyone's asking is, are we in an artificial intelligence bubble? You've been through boom and busts. What do you think?
No hype, no myths. Just what actually matters to your money.
Does feel very similar to what we experienced in the 90s. Where are we, though? Are we in 1995, 1997, 1999?
Listen to the Pain Points of Wealth on the Red Apple Podcast Network.